what's happening around the world and what's happening here at home.
For the News First team, I am Rumaza Irfan.
And I'm Sandal Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Did the mother who was anesthetized during childbirth lose her life due to the effects of a drug?
ඒ සර් කිව්වේ ඉන්ජෙක්ෂන් එක ගෙනල්ලා තියෙන්නේ 85 ලාභේ බලලා තමයි බාල බෙහෙතක් ගෙනල්ලා තමයි මෙහෙම දෙයක් වුනේ.
No laboratories to ascertain the quality of drugs, a statement from the National Medicines Regulatory Authority. Trade unions claim that a cabinet decision revoked 2 conditions on foreign firms entering the local fuel market. The president is a miracle worker, says the UNP General Secretary. The next presidential candidate is from the SLPP. The president was supported to carry out only 2 responsibilities, reveals Professor Ranjit Bandara. Price of a loaf of bread reduced by 10 rupees. Aswasima to replace Samurdhi starting next month.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
First up in news here at home, the National Medicines Regulatory Authority said that issues have arisen with regard to quality control, citing that it does not have laboratory facilities to test the quality of imported medicines and that it costs a lot of money.
The NMRA has taken this stance after it was reported that the Indian manufactured anesthetic bupivacaine was responsible for 2 deaths in Sri Lanka.
This little infant just turned 2 months old recently. However, she lost her mother's love some 3 days after she was born. Her mother, Sanduni Madhushani, was admitted to the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital on the 2nd of April 2023 to deliver her second child. She was subject to a cesarean delivery the very next day in order to protect the lives of both mother and child and complete the delivery in a protective manner. Unfortunately, Sanduni's eyes, which closed after being administered with the anesthetic, never opened again. She was immediately rushed to the ICU of the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital, and it was reported that she was administered with the Indian manufactured anesthetic bupivacaine.
කෝල් එකක් ආවා මේ බබා හම්බුණා බේබි රූම් එකට.
I was told that the baby was moved to the baby room and my daughter was moved to the ICU. My son-in-law was in tears the whole time and he was told to speak to her lovingly. He did as he was told. She passed away on the day we returned from a religious obligation. Doctors say they were not at fault and that low quality medicine was imported. The person who carried out the post-mortem said that a medicine that was 85 rupees cheaper had been imported, thus resulting in this tragedy. 2 children lost their mother. The family is in ruins. The grandparents will take care of them as long as they live. The relatives cannot care for them because they have kids of their own.
ඉතින් සහෝදරින්ටත් බෑනේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ දරුවෝ ඉන්නවනේ. ඉතින් ළමයි දෙන්න තමයි පව් ඉතින් උපන්නා. අම්මේ ආච්චර ලස්සන කිසිම ලෙඩක් තිබ්බේ නැහැ මගේ දරුවට.
This little girl will now have to receive mother's love from her aunt, who also recently delivered her own child.
The system needs to change so that no one else has to experience such a tragedy. The hospital only has low quality medicine. Justice needs to be served for the 2 children.
On the 15th of June, a principal who was admitted to the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital also died after being administered with the same anesthetic. When these concerns were raised on Monday, this was the response given by the chairman of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority.
This is like the issue of the folklore of Amal Bisu. You cannot find a house where a death has never occurred. There is an issue with a registered medicine and an unregistered medicine. Such incidents cannot be prevented.
The Association of Health Professionals said the NMRA is concealing the true nature of a serious issue by adopting various theories based on folklore.
We call this the Amal Biso theory of the NMRA. If this theory is adopted in the future, we will not be able to locate a house that has not experienced a death due to low quality medicines. Though they speak of characters in the folk tales, the real characters have died. The NMRA chairman needs to understand the pain of the families of the deceased. Normal complications of a medicine and a deadly complications are two different things. Nowhere in the world would anyone allow to administer a medicine with deadly complications.
The Society of Government Pharmacists also commented.
Some assume that only 2 deaths were reported. No, during this period, a pregnant mother and a principal died. This was occurred by improper management by the officials. If the use of the medicine continued, more deaths would have been reported.
The National Medicines Regulatory Authority noted that medicines can be imported without registration based on the emergency requirement.
According to the medical ordinance, if the health ministry or the health minister makes a request on urgency, we can import medicines without registration.
The All Ceylon Medical Government Medical Officers Association stressed that patient lives cannot be put at risk under any circumstances.
With regard to some of the unregistered medicines being used in the country, the health officials respond by stating the emergency requirements. Irrespective of the nature of the requirement, we cannot put patients' life at risk. The health ministry has shied away from its responsibilities for various reasons, including payouts. Our allegations against the health ministry is for the use of low-quality medicines.
However, the NMRA says that there are obstacles in testing medicines even if they are registered.
We cannot go for 100% quality. We have issues. When medicines are imported, random samples are taken for testing and quality inspection. We cannot do that in Sri Lanka because the cost is high and we do not have the laboratories. We do not have experts. Furthermore, we can stop this by conducting random tests.
Do you recall the NMRA data scam, where data stored in the government cloud was deleted? What happened to the investigation? Sri Lanka allocates a great deal of money for medicine regulation and it spends the same amount on it as well. This is an issue that directly impacts people's lives. After the Sri Lankan economy collapsed due to untimely decision making, some met with their close associates citing a lack of funds to purchase medicines. What do those in responsible positions have to say now? This is what we have to say to Minister Kelly Rambukwala, who is seated in the subcommittee to prepare legislation on regulating broadcasters and advising on silencing the media that speaks on behalf of the people. Before you start advising the media, regulate the health sector. In response to the foreign exchange crisis and to ensure an uninterrupted fuel supply to consumers without paving the way for more fuel queues in the country, Sri Lanka decided to open its retail fuel market to 3 foreign suppliers. However, it is now reported that 2 prior conditions were amended by a cabinet decision before the agreements were inked. When Sri Lanka signed agreements with Sinopec and RM Parks Incorporated, the Ministry of Power and Energy said that with the inability to provide sufficient foreign exchange for fuel shipments, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation (CPC) and Lanka Indian Oil Company (LIOC) faced significant challenges that led to fuel queues. The ministry said that foreign companies will be allowed to enter the retail fuel market subject to conditions in order to solve the fuel crisis. One of the restrictions imposed on foreign companies entering the Sri Lankan market was that those companies were allowed to take the proceeds from the sale of fuel out of the country after 1 year of the importation of the respective fuel stock. Apart from this, it was also stated in the preliminary conditions that the conversion of the income into dollars will be allowed after 9 months. Another condition was that 1% of the total monthly sales value of petroleum products brought into the country on a monthly basis would be retained by the ministry or a nominated institution. However, 4 days before the signing of the agreement with Sinopec on the 22nd of May, a cabinet paper on the 19th of May proposed to remove both of these conditions. A former COPE chairman commented on the situation during the recent Mawat Intellectual Discussion program.
මේ කැබිනට් තීරණයෙන් දැන් මහ බැංකුව යෝජනාවක් කරලා තියෙනවලු.
A proposal has been made by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. It says that given the competitive market for fuel and that foreign reserves are strengthening, the 1% retention will be abolished. Further, they can proceed with rupee to dollar conversions at any given time. That means they can engage in these transactions immediately. The decision was approved by the cabinet on the 6th of June. Based on my calculations, the retention per month from one foreign firm is around $10 million.
ෂෙඩ් දෙක දෙනවද නැද්ද කියන වෙනම ප්‍රශ්නයක්. 101ක් කියන්නේ ඩොලර් මිලියන 10ක් විතර.
Trade unions also commented on the matter.
පොඩ්ඩක් ගණන් හතර බලන්න. මාසෙකට තෙල් ගෙන්නන්න ඩොලර් මිලියන 450ක් විතර වියදම් වෙනවා.
450 million USD is spent monthly on fuel imports. That is over 4.5 billion US dollars per year. Name a company that will not touch 4.5 billion US dollars from the treasury and will spend their own money to import fuel. Is the cabinet paper valid after the amendments were made? No. That cabinet paper is not worth anything.
මේ කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකාවේ හරය බවට පත් වෙන්නේ ඒකනම් ඒක අවසන් වෙනකොට මේ කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකාවත් අවසන් විය යුතුයි.
Parliamentarian Patali Champika Ranawaka, speaking in Parliament, revealed several ongoing scams in the country.
In the Auditor General's report on the sugar scam, the report clearly states that this scam happened in October 2020 and the tax money we lost as a country starting from that day till the 28th of February 2021 is 16,763 million rupees. This is even bigger than the central bank bond scam. Until now, no action has been taken against this. From the 16,000 million rupees that were looted, one company has received 45% of that amount and the rest has been divided among 6 more companies. The failure of the Finance Ministry to implement the law against these powerful entities and to burden the public with more taxes has tarnished the trust the people have in the Finance Ministry. Restructuring the domestic debt is inevitable now, and we clearly know that this will surely affect the EPF and the ETF of the innocent workforce of the country. What is the current value of the non-performing loans in the country? On the 31st of March, this amount was 1,350 billion rupees. 13% of the bank deposits have gone to a few corrupt businessmen in the country, and they have failed to institute any action against these corrupt businessmen. If we take an example, one liquor company in the country that was alleged of being involved with the bond scam has obtained a loan from the People's Bank by mortgaging the same piece of land. When we add this amount, this company has defaulted on 7 billion rupees to both of these banks by mortgaging the same piece of land. What actions have we taken against this company? The amount of taxes that we have failed to collect up until now stands at 906 billion rupees, and we only needed 956 billion rupees last year to pay the salaries. What steps have the Finance Ministry or the government taken to collect this revenue?
මොකද්ද මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශය හරි ආණ්ඩුව හරි මේ බදු එකතු කර ගැනීම සඳහා අරගෙන තියෙන ක්‍රියාමාර්ග?
Even today, various opinions were expressed about the attempt to bring new laws to suppress the media in a backdrop where public funds are being misused by corrupt financial schemes.
The opposition party is the watchdog of the people. The opposition parties in our country are not up to the task that should be done by the opposition. The injustice to the people and the country are informed by the media. Rulers always look to cover up their fraudulent activities that are revealed by the media. That is why they are preparing to bring this bill to protect themselves and to censor media. They are trying to bring this bill as a line of defense for them. Do not try to suppress the media by bringing such acts, because this government will not exist forever. You will go home soon someday. After leaving, the opposition comes next. They will make it their own playground. Do not try to do these unnecessary things. It will come back to you in return.
The Freedom People's Congress emphasized that if this proposal is presented, they would take legal action.
The Broadcasting Regulatory Bill is currently at the negotiation stage, and as such it would be presented soon. We will take legal action against it in such a scenario. We will discuss this with the people of the country as well. We need to bring a law regarding broadcasting in the country. However, the law that is looked at here is such that the government is given much authority on media broadcasting. Hence, it is extremely problematic. We believe that it will not be brought forward. If it is brought forward, then firstly, we would take legal action in this case. Secondly, we will create immense public dialogue in this regard. And thirdly, we would vote against this as well.
General Secretary of the United National Party, Bandara, says that it was really a miracle for the country to recover to this state from what it was before within a year, and President Ranil Wickremesinghe is clearly the diviner who made it possible.
However, parliamentarian Professor Ranjit Bandara from the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna says that despite vesting the responsibility with President Wickremesinghe to ensure the national security of the country and to restore her economy, the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna will definitely name a new candidate for the upcoming presidential election.
Even international organizations, including world superpowers, are happy about the way we are carrying out the administration in the country. And as a country, we have been able to gain back the trust of the international community again. This is the reason why French President Emmanuel Macron has invited our president to sit on a high-level committee. Therefore, we must tender our support to the president to win back this trust. The responsibility to save this country was given to President Ranil Wickremesinghe on the 20th of July last year. It's almost a year now. I think only a miracle worker could have guided our country from what it was before to what it was now within a year. Despite President Ranil Wickremesinghe being a politician and the people's leader, I would also call him the diviner who performed this miracle.
Ranil Wickremesinghe ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම ජනතා නායකයේ දේශපාලඥයන් නෙමෙයි විශ්මකර්මයෙක් කියලා අපිට හඳුන්වන්නට පුළුවන් කියන එක මම මතක් කරන්න කැමතියි. ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මන්ත්‍රීවරයාට ලබා දුන්න 69 ලක්ෂයක ඡන්ද පොරොන්දු ඉෂ්ට කරනවා කියලා තියෙනවා පත්මන් ජනාධිපතිතුමා සමග. මේ පොරොන්දු ඉටු කරනවා කියලා පුළුවන් නේ. කවුද ප්‍රසන්න රණතුංග
Despite the promises that were given by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the first task was to ensure the people's right to live. In order to do that, we had to restore the country's economy. The President is heading this task, while parliamentarians from the Pudujana Peramuna are supporting him. Officially, they are carrying out this task. Yes, every man has his own expectations. Don't you have any expectations? But that doesn't mean all those expectations will turn into a reality. SLPP parliamentarian Professor Ranjit Bandara commented on the issue as well.
දැන් මේ ජනවරමට පිටුපෑමේ අලුත්ම පරිච්ඡේදය තමයි අපි රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමාට එහෙම වෙන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Now this is the latest step against the people's mandate. We will not let this happen to Ranil Wickremesinghe. We will be there for him if he wishes to contest in the presidential election. If we are going against the people's mandate, we are violating the principles of our party. We have seen in the past how the people send these kinds of people home. Remember, you can only be a hero once. You can't be a hero twice. If those who became a hero and received the trust of the people's mandate and could not retain their heroism, the next time they will be at the bottom of the list. Some retired from politics. This is the truth. As you may have seen these days, a new group of people have come to television, especially in the news, and have begun making their own news. I have seen 4 main characters in the past few days. They were powerful ministers. They were frontline leaders in the Yahapalana government. Some were district leaders, but they were sent home by the people. Now they are the ones who say that we are forming a broad alliance. If it is possible for these defeated politicians to unite 1 or 2 of these young state ministers to form a broad alliance and win the next presidential election, I think it is a dream. Therefore, if someone thinks that the people of this country are in their pocket, it is possible to form such alliances and go to a place where they think an election can be won as such. None of these alliances can win an election without the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna. That's for sure. A trend has come to the forefront where people say, I am the presidential candidate. This is good. Not only that, we have seen some people from the past who are acting as if this is a responsibility passed on from generations, saying that they are the president. But remember, people who made more waves than you are walking in the sand today. Flags that were held up high have now become white flags. Therefore, we as the Sri Lanka Pudujana Peramuna will definitely nominate someone from our party for the presidential election. Anyone who wants to ally with us has the possibility to do so.
මතක තියාගන්න ඔයිට වඩා රැලි හදපු අය අද වැල්ලේ ඇවිදිනවා. සමහර තැන්වල ගහපු කොඩි දැන් සුදු කොඩි බවට පත් වෙලා. ඒ නිසා මිත්‍රවරුනි අපි ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ විදියට ස්ථීර වශයෙන්ම අපේ පක්ෂ කෙනෙක් ජනාධිපතිවරණයට ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා. අපිත් එක්ක සන්දානගත වෙන්න ඕන කෙනෙකුට පුළුවන්කම තියෙනවා.
ඔබතුමාගේ සහ සාගරකාරී වසම් මහලේකම්තුමා කරපු ප්‍රකාශවල අදහස් පරස්පරයි වගේ. දැන් එතුමා ඊයේ පැහැදිලිව කිව්වා ජනාධිපතිතුමාට අවශ්‍ය ශක්තිය ලබා දෙනවා අවශ්‍ය සහාය ලබා දෙනවා කියලා. ඔබතුමා කිව්වේ මේ දෑත් ශක්තිමත් කිරීම ජනවරමට පිටුපෑමක් කියලාද?
නෑ ඔයා ඉක්නේ කියන්නේ ඔයා confused.
No, what do you mean? You are confused. People are trying to go another path. What are they saying is that they are the ones turning their back on the people's mandate. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has the mandate of the people. We used that mandate to appoint Ranil Wickremesinghe as the president. We entrusted him with responsibility to protect the country and to stabilize the country's economy. He does that. We support that. But we have not promised anywhere that we will break up the party and form other parties and become independent and do these things. Don't make it such a confusion.
එකක් ඇති කරගන්න එපා හිමින් අහන්න.
ඔබ කිව්වේ ඔබතුමා කියන කණ්ඩායම් කල්ලි හදාගෙන ජනවරමට විරුද්ධව
කණ්ඩායම් කල්ලි හදාගෙන ජනවරමට පිටුපා. දෙයියනේ ඉතින් වෙන්න තියෙන දෙයක් ගන්න කියන්නේ වෙන්න පුළුවන් විය හැකි. ඒ නිසා
කියන්නේ හිතලුවක්.
නෑ හිතලුවක් නෙවෙයි.
හිතලුවක්.
නෑ හිතලුවක් නෙවෙයි. probabilities කියලා જાතියක් තියෙනවනේ.
ඔබතුමා නිකන් එහෙම ලේසියෙන් එහෙම කියන්නේ නෑනේ මොකක් හරි කණ්ඩායමක් වෙනම ගමන.
දැන් අපි හිතමුකෝ Dalla Salah Peruma Mettuma Pramukha Kandayam.
Now let's imagine that a group including Dalla Salah Peruma formed an organization called Nidahasa. Those appointed from our national list also joined it. Minister Lanka formed another independent group. Roshan Ranasinghe was also independent. So these are true. They are not lies. You know this as well. There's nothing new to say.
අලුතෙන් අහලා කියන්න දෙයක් නැහැ.
දැන් ඔබතුමා ඒ වගේම සඳහන් කරනවා මේ අපේ පක්ෂයේ කෙනෙක් තමයි ජනාධිපතිවරණයට ඉදිරි ජනාධිපතිවරණයට ගේන්නේ කියලා.
අපේ පක්ෂයෙන් කෙනෙක් ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ.
ඔව්. ඉතින් කවුද?
ඔයාලට කරුණාබාධයක් තියෙනවා.
කවුද?
නෑ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා
පක්ෂයේ කෙනෙක්. ඔව් ඒක තමයි පක්ෂයේ කෙනෙක්
ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා කියම පක්ෂනේ ඒක තීන්දුව කරන්න. රංජිත් බණ්ඩාරට පුළුවන් දෙයම තීන්දුවක් ගන්න.
ඒ කියන්නේ බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයාද නැත්නම් කවුද? අපි හිතමු අපි දන්නේ නැහැ ආයේ ඔබතුමාලා
බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ වීමේ වැරද්දක් තියෙනවද?
President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is on a visit in the UK, met with Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland in London. The President and the Secretary General had discussed the digitisation programs within the Commonwealth. President Wickremesinghe also shared his strategies for addressing climate change and explored the potential involvement of the Commonwealth in these efforts. French President Emmanuel Macron has invited President Ranil Wickremesinghe to address the high-profile discussion council at an international summit for a new global financing pact that is scheduled to be held in Paris on the 22nd and 23rd of June. The need to urgently find solutions to the multiple crises that have plagued the global community is to be discussed at this summit.
Volker Turk, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said Sri Lankan authorities have regretfully rejected some recommendations by the United Nations Human Rights Council regarding accountability. He expressed these views during the 53rd session of the UNHRC.
In Sri Lanka, although the government has regrettably rejected aspects of the Council's resolutions related to accountability, it has continued to engage with our presence on the ground. Sri Lanka has received a dozen visits by mandate holders in the past decade, and I encourage the authorities to implement their recommendations.
The United Nations Human Rights Council began its 53rd regular session on Monday, and it will continue until the 14th of July 2023 at the Palais des Nations in Geneva. On Wednesday, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights is due to make an oral statement regarding the situation of human rights in Sri Lanka.
News first with the people.
Acting Finance Minister Shehan Semasinghe said that the Aswasuma welfare benefit payments will commence on the 1st of July. He said that appeals can also be forwarded to obtain welfare benefit payments.
අපි විශේෂයෙන්ම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ජූලි මාසයේ ඉඳලා සමාජ සුබසාධන ප්‍රතිලාභ දීමන ලබා දීමේ ක්‍රමවේදය ඍජුවම ප්‍රතිලාභියාගේ ගිණුම.
The Aswasuma welfare benefit payments will commence on July 1st and the funds will be deposited directly to the bank account of the beneficiary. With the introduction of this program, false information spread regarding it. These reports said that we are trying to abolish the Samruddhi banks and the Samruddhi system. None of that will happen. We have already held discussions on regulating the cash transfer of Samruddhi benefits via the central bank. They will only step away from the financial aid provision from the Samruddhi department.
ඔවුන් මෙතෙක් සිදු කරපු මේ මූල්‍ය ආධාරය ලබා දීම පමණයි ඉවත් වෙන්නේ.
He also commented on the appeal system.
අපි මේ අවස්ථාවේ මේම තෝරා ගැනීමේ ක්‍රියාවලිය ඊටාම නිවැරදිව විනිවිද
The selection process was based on 22 criteria and was carried out with the complete transparency with the supervision of the district and divisional secretariats. The beneficiary list will be made public and appeals or complaints can be filed within 10 days.
පැමිණිලි සලකා බැලීමක් සිදු කරලා තවදුරටත් සුදුසු කණ්ඩායම තෝරා ගැනීම සිදු කරයි.
The Jatika Jana Balavege held a protest in Anuradhapura.
The Jatika Jana Balavege protest was held as another step in the series of protests against the unending tax burden, high cost of goods, excess electricity tariffs, repression of the government and against the illegal postponement of elections. The protest march that began at the DS roundabout concluded at the Anuradhapura town new bus stand.
The price of bread and bakery products will be reduced from tonight.
The price of a 450-gram loaf of bread will be reduced by 10 rupees. Chairman of the All Ceylon Bakery Owners Association, N.K. Jayavardhana, says that the price revision will be implemented from midnight. Accordingly, the prices of other bakery items will also be reduced by 10 rupees.
State Minister of Finance Srihan Semasinghe has said that the government is confident that debt restructuring with all bilateral creditors of the country will be concluded by the first review of the IMF.
When we have to meet the timeline of September for the first review of the IMF second tranche, we are confident that we should be able to come into an agreement with our bilateral creditors. All bilateral creditors, including the Paris Club membership, with Japan, India, China, all countries have been engaging with us very positively. So I think we have a long way ahead, but we are confident that by the end of the year we will have a substantial recovery of the economy. But the anticipated growth of the, as per the IMF program, is minus 3% in 2023. But with all the hard work and the support of the society, we are confident that we will do the -3 growth. We are confident on that. And we will definitely go through the first review where we have met most of the targets except the revenue targets, because the revenue from the customs department does not meet the targets as we have many restrictions.
He also commented on SOE restructuring and debt restructuring.
The government is in the process of revamping the institutional structure to support the trade and investment agenda by merging the EDB and BOI to create an agile institution that is capable of servicing and facilitating the needs of the modern economy. Restructure operations of CPC and CEB are ongoing, with the unbundling of the CEB to introduce greater transparency and competition within the entity, and introduction of competition in the petroleum retail sector to drive competitiveness and productivity in the CPC. Long-term economic growth is driven by competitiveness and productivity, and SOE reforms, including divestment of non-strategic entities, can play an important role in achieving this.
Right. Can you just tell us what the current situation is on the foreign debt restructuring?
The success story of debt restructuring with our bilateral creditors is comparability and the transparency we adhere. One of the decisive points were the creditor platform, which was launched in April 2023. The government is committed for a faster recovery. So I think the debt restructuring process, engagements, discussions are going on well, and we are confident that we will have a favorable conclusion at our earliest.
To ensure the state's ability to support all its essential expenditure, would that mean that all these inefficiencies will go down and the consumers will be able to get the power at a reduced price? So I just want to ask Honorable Minister, what is the plan they are having on this privatization, but whether it will really result in a reduction in the prices of electricity?
SOE restructuring does not mean privatization. We are looking at different options. Certain will be privatized. Certain SOEs will be on public-private partnerships. So there will be different approaches, and we are waiting to see the report by the specially assigned SOE unit under the Ministry of Finance to come up with a proposal as to how best we could restructure the existing SOEs. There are different options which are being assessed, so we'll come up with the best option available.
We have to build up our reserves if we are going to repay our loan. What would be the sort of plans that the government is having in the building of reserves so that we will be able to carry a surplus which will not result in the problems we had earlier?
Professor, we have relaxed import restrictions, you're right, but it's been done after consultation of the stakeholders, because we can't ask for relief from our friendly nations and have import restrictions.
Rescuers from the US and Canadian navies are racing against time to locate a missing submersible named Titan, which vanished with 5 people on board while on a tourist visit to the wreck of the Titanic on the bottom of the ocean of the Atlantic Ocean on Sunday. An undersea cable-lying vessel with 2 robo-submersibles has arrived at the scene at a search of the ocean floor near Titanic is commencing shortly.
4 aircraft from the US and Canada have been deployed in search of the 22-feet-long vessel operated by commercial tour firm OceanGate, which was carrying enough oxygen for just 4 days when it began its voyage on Sunday to the wreck, which is at 3,800 meters below sea level. Contact with its mothership on the surface was lost 1 hour and 45 minutes into the dive. The submersible is carrying a pilot, an expert guide, and 3 tourists. OceanGate prices tourist tickets to see the Titanic at $250,000 per person. Among those reportedly on board this voyage is a UK billionaire Hamish Harding, who has a history of deep-sea voyages, including the Challenger Deep of the Mariana Trench in the Pacific, which is the deepest point in the world's oceans, and also flew into space last year as a tourist. Stockton Rush, founder and CEO of OceanGate, Paul Henry Nargelot, an experienced French deep-sea explorer who has been to the Titanic wreck more than any other person, believed to be about 50 dives. Shahzada Dawood, one of Pakistan's wealthiest billionaires, who is a trustee of the California-based non-profit SETI Institute and vice chairman of the Dawood Hercules Corporation, and his son Suleiman. The Titanic went down 700 kilometers south of the town of St. John's in Newfoundland in Canada in 1912 after hitting an iceberg, killing more than 1,500 people. A full dive down to the wreck of the Titanic usually takes about 8 hours.
The ICC World Cup qualifiers 2023 took place today as well.
Chasing a target of 316 runs, Zimbabwe won by 6 wickets with 55 balls remaining. The Netherlands in their innings scored 315 runs for the loss of 6 wickets. Meanwhile, the 6th qualifier match took place between USA and Nepal today. USA was all out by 207 runs and Nepal won by 6 wickets with 42 balls remaining as well.
And with that, wrap up primetime news for tonight.
For more of this story, visit our website www.newsfirst.lk. Good night and take care.